So let's just talk reality for a while. And the reality is that you are confronted by the people who want money from you, and want power from you, and want pride from you, and say, we are your saviors. That would be the university, of course. And I use them as a blanket statement because they are in charge. They are in charge of everything. The diploma, without the diploma, you don't get to be a leader. You are a leader because you have a diploma. And you are allowed to be in the election because you have a diploma. And you are allowed to be in media because you have a diploma. And you don't get a diploma unless you memorize, mimic, and repeat whatever you are told. And you don't get a diploma without creating an enormous amount of debt, which makes you their slave. Because if you don't do what you're told, if you don't believe, fear, and obey what you are told to do by the leadership of the cult, which is university knows, university is God, then you get to be thrown away. You have to believe. If they want you to lie, you lie, or you throw it away. So, we'll state the case with believe, give us your money for heart disease. The average person has a heart which doesn't affect them hardly at all, and they live to be 76 years old, and by that time the heart has beat about 3 billion times. So your universities are saying to you, give us your money so that we can do better than that. The heart beats 3 billion times for the average person without ever failing it. And they say they can do better than that. A heart it builds itself, it creates its own valves, it places itself in the body, it anchors itself, it hooks itself up to blood vessels, that it uses blood that the university can't create blood, they can't create bones, they can't create skin, they can't create organs, they can't create a brain, they can't create anything. But they say they can do better than that, better than nature, by adding chaos into it. So when you listen to the university and say, believe, 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 try not to believe. It's not true. There are, it's like, their truth is like the heart campaign. 1 out of 6 people, or whatever it is that they claim, die of heart disease, but they don't add in old age. Nobody dies of old age. Nobody dies of old age. You need to remember that. And you need to understand that the power is in what you believe. That's where power comes from. What you believe is where they get their power. What you believe is what you want, and what you want is what you fear, and what you obey, and so on. So try not to believe, because believe is just a want, and wants are created by lies or fears or thefts or whatever it is that is affecting your life. And obedience, of course, is believe the leader. The leader knows what he's doing. Believe the leader. Don't question the leader, because that's what power is. And power wants you to believe the leader, as is a cult. If you can't question the leader, it's a cult. And you can't question the university. They're the expert. They're your God. Just ask any court. I've been through many. Ask any court. Yeah. University is God. The university is the expert. The university is right. Doesn't matter what the evidence says. The university is God. So given that, the reality, of course, is that we are facing endless threats, and one of them is Trump. And you think he's going to help you get back your nation? Of course, this is the same thing that was Hitler in pre-World War II Germany. The mandate of the people, or the Nazi party at that time, was remove the Jews from Germany because they're taking over our whole nation. And they were. But that's because they were thrown out of their own nation. And that's because they've been fighting for, thousands of years with Palestine and so on. But nonetheless, the mandate was, get rid of these immigrants. Give us back our nation. Return it to us. which is exactly the same thing as what Trump is supposed to do. Is it not? It is. So he's not going to do that for you. He's not going to protect you. That's just the facts of life. If he was going to do that, he would care a little bit. But as with COVID, he created COVID for you. They told him he was sick with COVID, and instantly he gave them all the money they wanted. And they wanted $6 trillion. $6 trillion is 6,000 people get to be billionaires. That's how much it is. 6,000 people suddenly get to be billionaires. Or $1 billion is 1 in every 6,000 divided by. So he's not going to help you, and he's not going to throw out immigration easily, because it's a problem of too many people on Earth. It's a finite planet. It is. But let's go back to COVID for a second. And $6 trillion is $60,000 for 100 million people each. So, he bankrupted you. He didn't protect your money. He didn't, give you money. He just added to the debt. Added to the currency counterfeiting that is constant with universities in charge. They created their solution by counterfeiting currency. That is their solution. Or their solution is primarily added to that let the children pay. And once the children and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren are all indebted to the point where they'll never get out, then it's of course back to let the government pay. And of course the government is us. And of course, $6 trillion is $60,000 for each and every one of 100 million people. And that's just the first wave. Biden added to that. So it's not a Republican issue, it's not a Democratic issue, it's a reality issue. There is no reality in university except for the fact that they take all the money for themselves and treat every toy and every trinket and every trophy they can think of, which is, of course, what all their big science projects are. It's just toys, trophies. And of course, I had this, you don't, trinkets. So you need to understand that we are facing a crisis of many kinds. And the crisis of Trump is that he's trying to create what he gets to be, he believes he's going to be God. In one form or another. And he intends to do that by combining with China and Russia and all the people, the major leaders that have the power to have major armies. And if you can combine them together, then they can all rule the world. Just 7 people or whatever it is that rule the world. And that's, of course, his goal. You can see it. It's coming. And you can say whatever you want to about democracy. Democracy is just, we demand that the laws will rule us. We demand that our contract is our government. We demand that you obey our laws. Our contract, you're not the owner, you're the employee. But if you don't enforce that, the one who is in charge of the army, or in charge of the policing, or in charge of the courts, which is power and pride of money, they decide what will be. And if if a small army of men or women or whatever it is come racing into your employment or business or whatever with guns and say, do what we say or you'll be dead, that's exactly what will happen. Just like it did with SS in World War II. The idea of power, the idea of Nazi. You can call it anything you want, but it's just tyranny. Tyranny has been throughout all of history. Tyranny is the law. Your law no longer matters. We are the law now, and if you don't do what we say, we're just going to kill you. Or we're going to make you cry in one form or another. And that's, of course, what power is. And power is run by hate. Hate, of course, is, I don't care about any part of what you want or what you are or what there is nothing to be respected about you. Power is I am your God in one form or another. And they get the dogs to join in on that because they all say, me too, me too, me too. Look at me too, me too, me too. Because they want what they want. And you don't get any power unless you have a law or the rule or something behind you. So rules make it possible to single out one person. And when you single out that one person, then you can make the rest of them fear because you too can be singled out. That's how that works. That's how tyranny works with the rules. And the righteous make rules so that they can have what they want. So that they can, separate the public out that says, you didn't do what we said. You didn't follow our rules, so we're going to hurt you. But leaders take over those rules. And then they do it to the entire nation. And then, of course, you have nothing but tyrants and tyranny and what will be starvation and thirst and so on. Because that's just how it works. When you fail the nation fails you. When you fail the food supply fails you. When you fail to respect, water and everything about this planet, it dies, as is the constant of university is in charge. And of course the university hates me for that, but that's just how that is. I'm not so fond of them either. But, the point being that we must be in charge of ourselves. We must be prepared to enforce our democracy. This is the United States of America, and we must be prepared to enforce our democracy. And our democracy is our government. And our government is the contract that we sign with ourselves. And the contract, of course, is the preamble of the Constitution, and it is the amendments of the Constitution, and its foundation documents, the things that brought us to that point, were the what's called the Virginia Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. And if you look at those documents, you'll find that that they've already been, practically discarded in its entirety. In other words, democracy is basically dead, because the university, in charge of everything, decided to kill it all because they, of course, are God. They are the expert. They get to decide everything, and you can't decide everything. You can't be God unless you tear apart everything that has been working. You can't replace what people are not going to listen to you unless you replace what they have been using. It's just like, you can't have an army without an enemy. You have to have an enemy. And even though the things that we have been using, that are correct, that were correct, have been just basically destroyed. There's endless amounts of problems with what they do. There's endless amounts of problems with where they go. And again, the evidence is not moving you. I tried for years, the evidence does not move you. The reality of money being slaughtered, the reality of even, people trying to ignite the same fire as on the sun here on this earth. It doesn't affect you either because you don't care. You don't care. You believe. And it is the believer that is the worst part of human society. You believe what you want. Therefore, the evidence doesn't matter. The reality of consequences doesn't matter. What's true doesn't matter. Nothing matters except for what you want. And you believe what you want because that's what you want. And of course that's what religion does too. But they're different than public and governments and things. Although the university is a religion, they are a cult. The religion is that the university is God. We have a book, just like every other religion. We can't be wrong, we have a book. We can't be wrong, we have a book. It's just a book. Written by former classmates of yours and mine. And they were never God. And they can be wrong, just like your doctors can be wrong, and sometimes, many times are. And many times do more harm than good. Yet you want to believe them because if you don't believe them, then you feel threatened. More so, you have to believe them because they're going to do surgery on you or something. So you have to believe them because otherwise you're too scared. And that's fear, and fear is a problem. Fear is what makes tyranny possible, more than anything else. So we need to ensure that the Army understands you don't work for the president. You are working for us. We pay you. He does not. We are the people who you are working for. And the police as well. They have to understand that it doesn't matter who's given the orders. We are given the orders. As a democracy, this is our law. This is our nation. We are the owners just like you. Don't